Everyone, and welcome to the special simulcast, the Neil Haley Show, and the Cutting Edge Benefits Podcast with our host, Tom Quigley of ClaimLinx. Tom, this is a quick podcast, but it's a really funny, fun podcast. How do you guys build relationships with HR directors that are your clients? And why the ones that say this is too much work, why it isn't? What do you guys do in establishing that relationship once you onboard a client and you're working with HR too?
A service team, that's what they do is they try to educate the HR directors into knowing what forms need to be done or what online programs they need to fill out. They don't, their employees do, and how the employees should be taking advantage of all the tools that are available to them and educating them on telling them to tell the employees to utilize it and allowing us to have service meetings with both them and their spouses online, whatever it takes to in person, whatever they want to take advantage. However, they generally, a lot of times, are upset because they view that any change is bad and that it's more work for them. And they weren't they're not basically, they were taken out of the equation on the decision making by the owner and the CFOs or CEOs or COOs or outside accountants or tax attorneys because quite frankly, the costs have gotten out of control. So the employers are willing to change. So the key is making it so it's a team um, versus an I. And what we find is new HR directors or office managers that get hired need to be educated immediately and understand because they can jeopardize the savings by making trying to convince the owners to change because everybody's having issues because quite frankly they don't understand it,
Yeah.
and the owners and the CFOs are the ones that see the savings are like, we're not going back to how it was. So that generates sometimes some issues. Quite frankly, it's shame on the owners and CFOs for ever allowing the HR departments to make the decisions on health insurance to begin. But back when the rates were 200 a month for a family and $50 a single, they didn't feel it was necessary to be involved. But now rates are approaching 1,000 a single and 3, 4,000 a family. They've all of a sudden realized this is a EBITDA issue.
Right.
You know, their values of their companies are plunging because of the health insurance. So they're willing to change things now.
So people go to school for HR to become an HR director. Do you think that the healthcare thing is one of the biggest part of the education process, that maybe that's why it's a challenge to
Well, they're
understand that
being taught traditional ways. They're not being taught that there's creative ways to do it. A creative way for them is a traditional way, you know, like an HSA or an HRA. And, you know, they shouldn't be involved in the decision making
no,
for that.
no, they shouldn't be involved, and it's ridiculous that they are.
No offense,
Um,
we have an HR director. He's not allowed to make decisions on the health insurance.
but how big
Why
of
would,
that was that in the traditional schooling for HR directors? Probably healthcare is a big point.
employee benefits, but their issue is, you know, they're all caught up with HIPAA and all these other buzzwords. Yet, you know, HIPAA is $1 billion industry that I don't believe any company's ever been fined for doing a HIPAA violation. Now, some have been sued by employees because of saying they were fired because of their health conditions. That's a different ballgame. But, you know, the in terms of them being fined for being, yeah, I just don't see it.
Exactly. All right. Well, that was interesting to learn about that because I didn't know that, kind of understand that's one of your biggest bottlenecks is the first people you have to contact to potential your solutions, HR. And
Well, the
HR,
owners are always trying to say you need to talk to so and so, and I'm like, no, I need to talk to your outside accountant or tax attorney before I talk to them. we're dealing with tax laws. Does your HR director do your tax returns? And the answer is no.
Okay. All right.
Plus,
So
their relationship with the insurance agents, sometimes you're just like,
that's muddies the waters because you never know what that relationship is like.
they're caught up at pools like Mike Vrabel with these reporters,
Oh my gosh.
except they're
Yeah. So,
insurance agents, man.
yeah. All right. So go to claimlinx.com today to schedule a call, and schedule a call with Tom the Gay. Appreciate it, Tom. That was a special simulcast.